and welcome back to RTB. This is part 3, the final part of how to create a cutout card on Canvas Workspace. In this part we will assemble the patterns we made in the previous tutorial using the process overlap tools to achieve the finished card. Okay, so I've got all of the elements I need to make my card, apart from the card shape itself and a circle. So if we go back to Basic, and I choose a rectangle and I choose a circle, and I'll close that and we'll just move the circle aside. I want my rectangle to be 140 deep by 280 wide. So to do that, I'm going to, with it selected, go to the properties bar. I need to uncheck maintain aspect ratio and type in 140 by 280 and then hit return on my keyboard. Now the mistake I keep on making is I keep doing a center line, but I still sort of will want that, but I'm going to put my rectangle to the side after I've coloured it in. Give it a nice turquoise. Move it over and bring the circle in. I'm just going to maybe just check that size. I might change it down a little bit, it doesn't matter. So now we can start arranging all the pieces. So if we bring in thank first, I'm going to tilt it a little bit and stretch it. So I'm going to just go in a little bit closer. So what I need to do is I need to arrange, make sure that's to the back, set to the back. I need to arrange all of these objects that I have around the circle. I'll just do a couple of them for you and then I'll zoom on ahead and meet you once they're all set up. So I'm going to duplicate this a few times. So I'm just hitting D on the keyboard. I will have one there and I think one around about there. I'll just change the sizes. I do apologise if I'm a little bit nasal while I'm speaking. I seem to be a bit bunged up, so and do you remember these leaves? I'm going to duplicate those a couple of times. Of course they're huge, but that's okay. We're just going to scale them down and a lot. Twist them around a little bit. You can flip them if you want to. Try flipping this way, why not? And come in here. Okay, I'm going to move on and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so that's my objects all arranged and you'll see that I've added a little bit of colour along the way. I'm just going to colour that circle in too so that you can see that. Give it a bit of a shocking pink. So the next thing that I need to do is I need to weld all of the shapes together except for the circle. I don't want the circle welded in there. And I've just tried to overlap slightly a lot of the shapes. These little leaves obviously aren't overlapping anything, but this is where if there's going to be a problem, we're going to have a problem if the overlaps aren't right. I'm just going to check this flower in here. That overlaps there. I could perhaps just move nudge this up just a little bit there. And what I'll probably do is end up maybe cutting some of those out later on. So if I go back to view and fit to mat, and if we draw a fence, dragging our mouse our cursor right across everything, hold down the shift key and deselect the circle. I don't want that. And then if this works, we should be able to just weld. That's wonderful. Now my little bird hasn't welded because that hasn't changed color, and I did expect that to and I didn't expect these because they're not joined to anything. So if we just go back in, I'm just going to nudge that little bird down so that it's at least touching the A on the thank you. I'm just going to fit to mat because you can see it more easily. I just make it so that it fits in the screen a bit better. So the bird is highlighted, and I'm going to hold down the shift key and select the rest of the shape. So we'll go back and weld. There we go, that's wonderful. Right, now let's fit to mat and bring in our rectangle. Now as you can see, my whole shape is a little bit too big for this size of card that I'm wanting to use. That's not a problem. I'm just going to move out, select everything, and I think I'll just group it for now and bring this back. So if I deselect the card and scale down my pattern and have it so that it fits nicely on there. Some people do use the grid that's available. A lot of designers are using the grid that's available. I don't tend to use it very much. I do a lot by eye because I find it confusing. If I just select this, I can see where the center line is, and what I'm going to do is use the path tool to draw a line so that I can shape that up nicely. So here's my path tool. Click, hold down the shift key to keep it straight, and click again. And close it off by clicking in the last control point. I'm not going to shape it and size it yet to the card. I just literally want it as a center line. So I'm going to edit and center it. There we go. And group that as well. And we'll just send it to the back. Now I can see better how my pattern is going to fit in that square. So I just can make it a bit bigger. And if I'd have made this as a square separately, then obviously I could have centered that. But again, I'm just doing a lot of this by eye. Okay, I think that's fine. So the next thing I need to do is I need to punch out that circle in the middle. So I'm going to select it all and ungroup. Then select the card shape and the circle by holding down the shift key. And I'm just going to, if I hit subtract, we'll see what happens, but I've got a feeling that more will be subtracted than I want. No, that's okay. That's just because I selected the two. Right, so we're going to send this to the back again. And now I need to divide. Actually, I think before I divide, I'm going to get rid of these little leaf shapes because they're going to be punched out anyway. So if I select my square on my card shape and select the little leaves, see they've ungrouped as well. And just subtract them. Don't understand why they haven't subtracted. Oh, I didn't select the square, sorry. So select the little leaves and select the square to subtract it. That's better. Send the card or the square, a rectangle really, to the back. Right, so the next thing we need to do is to divide. So I'm just going to select all of it and right click on my mouse and click divide. Sometimes this doesn't always work, and it hasn't this time either. A part of the line overlaps with other lines and slightly move. So if I just go in a little bit closer, you can take a look at what's going on. And I think one of the problems is sometimes when you look at these, you can see that that edge looks like it's just touching. It is. So what I'm going to do is just nudge this little pattern out of the way a little bit, because I think that might be our problem. I'm using the up and down arrows on my keyboard to do this. So if we go View, Fit to Mat, and we'll see if that works. So this time I've highlighted it all again, and I'm going for divide, and it's working. So now that we can see it's divided, everything's changed to green, and we need to go in and start removing some of these overlaps that we don't want, some of these cut out bits. Oh, trying to get in a bit closer. There we go. So just remove the bits that you don't want. I'm selecting them and hitting delete on my keyboard, or I can just keep going like that. I can select a few at a time. And delete, and just keep going until you've deleted everything that you don't want. I don't want inside there, or there, or there. And I don't want this little bit here. So I'm going to just delete that. Could zoom on ahead, but there might be things that you don't realize to delete. I'm going to leave that because I'm going to do a weld function next, and so I don't mind if that's filled in, because I think that's going to be quite awkward for my knife to actually have to cut out. Although it does seem to join onto that L a little bit. Oh, sorry, the K. Right, I'm going to leave that for now. We might have to manipulate that later. Yes, I'm going to leave that shape in and get rid of these. It's up to you, really, what you want to delete. I'm going to get rid of that if I can, because it's awkward. No, I'm going to leave that to weld. I'm trying to think ahead of how small some of these shapes are going to be for my ScanNCut knife to be able to get rid of them. You can zoom to the end or fast forward to the end if you want to. You don't have to watch this full process. I'm not sure whether I'd actually like to cut this shape out. I know that we're trying to keep a circular shape going on here. I sort of like that, but yeah, I think I'll leave it. That's going to be awkward. So what I'm going to do after we've welded is probably just remove that little bit of an awkward cutout there. So if we go to View, Fit to Mat, and I think I've deleted just about everything that I do want to delete, highlight everything again, and then weld. And that's great. So yeah, we've got a little cutout there, and we've got that cutout there. So I'm just going to manipulate that with the, I call them the node tools. It's because it's a big file now, it's taking a little bit longer to select everything. So I'm going to hide these control points and just remove these few here. So it will mean I'm going to lose this little bit of a thing on the T. Come on. As I say, it slowed my computer down really almost to a standstill. So as you can see, it's taken ages to select. And if I just, actually I'm going to save before I do any more. Because if this, I can get, yes, it's saving, okay. Because I don't want to lose all of this. Right, just zoom fit to mat. Woo. There we go. So I just want to get rid of that little bit there too, because again, I think that's going to be a really tight cut. So there's two little areas. There's this one and this one. So if we just double click on it, bring back all those nodes. I'm just going to do this one first because that should be easy. What will happen is your knife will actually cut into that on the ScanNCut. So just delete that. Okay, and I'm just going to try and draw a fence around that, but you won't see it because, as I say, there are so many nodes now. I just have to wait for it to highlight and then pop up. Great. So if I view, fit to mat, the only thing that we need to do now is to put our fold line in. So if I just move this around, you can see that I lost that line, which I said I probably would. So back to the path tool, click, hold down the shift key for a straight line, and then close it off by clicking back in the final control point. Then if we go to the properties, we know that our card is 140 millimeters deep, so I'm just going to change that to 140. I don't really need a film, and I tend to like my center lines to be red. It's just a habit. I change it to a cutting line and change it to a dash pattern. And there we go, close that. So we'll select the card shape and edit, and then we want center and edit and middle. And then we'll group that, and that's ready to send to our ScanNCut. So I'm going to save it as my cutout card. But I have to save it as cutout 2 because I have a few of these now. So it's asking if because I've changed the name, if I want to overwrite the project or save it as another one. I just want to actually I'll save it as another project. OK. So I'm just going to send this to my machine now. To do that, I'm going to go to the left-hand side, pull up the patterns bar, and you can see that there's a download tool. So if I click on that, it asks you for the transfer method. I know I've gone through this before, and I know that other designers have gone through this with you too. But basically, if you download to PC directly, that should save it to your downloads folder, or you can right click on your mouse and save the link as, and then you can save it to either your USB or a specific file. Luckily for me, I do have a ScanNCut machine that has the Wi-Fi facility, so I'm just going to do it as a direct transfer. So the ScanNCut transfer is ready, so when I turn on my ScanNCut machine, I'll be able to open the project at the icon illustrated. I hope you enjoyed this series of tutorials, and thank you for watching, and happy crafting.